Okay, so welcome to Amplify Your Career Experience, Get Career Insights. And we're so excited to talk to our audience today of students, alumni, and mentors. Our mentors also include faculty, staff, parents, and employers. So just a little bit about our ASTIC Mentor Program. It is a partnership for success. I am based in career services, but we work with SDSU alumni to bring the ASTIC Mentor Program to you. And the secret of our success are our mentors and you and everyone who participates in this program. The ASTIC Mentor Program does make an impact, and can you believe it? It's been around since 2013, and we have now connected over 16,000 students to mentors, networking opportunities, internships, academic and professional guidance and support, and potential job and career connections. Also, we just launched a podcast to share some of these inspiring stories with you and the impact of mentorship. So again, just thank you to the mentors that participate in the ASTIC Mentor Program, and thank you all for joining us tonight to hear from alumni and mentors about the importance of mentorship and the impact it can make in your life. So my name is Diane Marin, and I oversee the ASTIC Mentor Program, and I have two AM student assistants who support me and answer our emails or our phone calls, Thuy Nguyen and Lauren Eid. Lauren's on the call tonight. In addition, I have quite a few staff members that are joining us as well. So thank you, Lorenzo, Alejandro, and Rosa for supporting this event tonight. And now we want to go ahead and get started with our featured alumni panelist, Chloe Welsh from LinkedIn. She is a senior talent insights consultant. Jack Nestler from Tesla, Autopilot and Autonomy. He's in talent acquisition. Alana Hill from Sempra. She's a financial analyst. And Abdi Mohammed from Lockheed Martin Corporation, who is a security analyst. And now I'm going to go ahead and give them a chance to introduce themselves so you can learn more about them.
Thank you, Diane. So great to be here with everybody. My name is Chloe Welsh. I am a talent insights consultant at LinkedIn. I graduated from San Diego State back in 2015 with my degree in communication. At SDSU, I was a member of Rotaract. I was in a business fraternity. I was an SDSU ambassador. So truly love San Diego State and so excited to just do my part in giving back in the slightest amongst all of you today. My role at LinkedIn is really to support businesses that are using LinkedIn data to hire, find talent, and really LinkedIn's motto, like connecting talent with opportunity. So super fortunate to do that every day. When I think about mentoring in this program, I wouldn't be in the role I am today without having a mentor. I think mentors come in all shapes and sizes. My sister is one of my biggest mentors, the reason I am at LinkedIn today. So I am super excited to chat with you all today and looking forward to learning from my fellow panelists as well.
Thank you, Chloe. We're excited that you're with us too. Jack, go ahead.
How you doing? My name is Jack Nestler. As you can read there, and as was already said, I work for Tesla Autopilot and Autonomy programs. So think anything autopilot, vehicle software, anything in that nature. I've also worked at a number of other companies within the tech space, all the way into the biotech space. So I know a number of biology and just kind of bioengineering, I think, in here. So any questions you guys have, just like Chloe said, really just here to try to do my part, give back, be a connection, give guidance. I know I've got one of my mentees in here. Shout out Prashanthi. So yeah, just glad to be here and help. Let me know what I can do for you guys.
Thank you, Jack. And next, Alana Hill.
Everyone, my name is Alana Hill, and I graduated from SDSU in 2020, right when the pandemic hit. Before that, I was working with Diane actually as an Aztec Mentor Program student assistant. So I helped connect students with mentors, and I also had quite a few mentors myself, which some of them I still keep in touch with today. So it's really neat to be able to give back and come back here on this end of it. I work with Sempra now, and I'm in their rotation program, their financial leadership program. So I've had different experience in sustainability, financial reporting, and now strategic planning. So really excited to be here. Thank you for your patience with my raspy voice. I'm battling a cold, so I'm thankful that it's virtual for that, but hope to see you guys in person at some point too.
Thank you, Alana. Abdi, are you there?
Yeah. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Abdi Mohammed. I'm a cybersecurity engineer and consultant at Lockheed Martin Corporation. I was actually born and raised in San Diego, California, went to Grossmont College. Originally, I planned on becoming an economist, so I studied economics, got my associate's degree in economics. I came to state and I realized, you know what, I actually want to work in tech. So I changed my majors to business management information systems. Shout out to the MIS majors in here. And, got a cybersecurity job offer right after I graduated back in 2019. And it's been a blast, working at Lockheed Martin. We work on cool things like weapon systems, jets, helicopters, that sort of thing, that's supporting our military and armed forces. Mentoring for me is everything. Mentoring has changed the trajectory of my life. My mentor during the Aztec mentorship program while I was an undergrad, his name was Phil Miller. And we're still really close today. So great job on you all coming here today and being a part of this event. And, I encourage you all to take advantage of this unique opportunity because this is extremely valuable.
Thank you, Abdi. Okay. So now I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to move into our panel questions. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Just give us a second to get everyone spotlighted. Thank you for our staff members who are helping out behind the scenes.
Start asking questions now.
I have questions that I'm going to ask, and then we will open it up to Q&A later. Okay, so we're going to cover 4 career readiness topics tonight, and I have some questions prepared, but I also do appreciate that a lot of you who RSVP'd did include some questions, and there will be some time at the end for some Q&A. And if you run into questions, I have a lot of questions. So let's start with our first topic of career and self-development. Alana and Abdi, since you've graduated recently, I want to start with both of you. So Alana, how have you transitioned from a student to a working professional?
Transitioning from a student to a working professional, I'd say that it's mostly about drawing on the skills that I've learned as a student. So those could be things like communication, communicating with my different professors, as well as working in a group settings, learning how to work with different people from different backgrounds, as well as organization skills, time management. All of those skills translate to the working world as well. I would say that, as well as presentation skills, working all the things with Microsoft Office, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, the things that you work on in school, I definitely translate to the working world. So I'd say that there are a lot of skills that you learn in school that translate to the working world, and yeah.
And Abdi, I know you were a mentee when you were here at State, and now you're a mentor. How has that helped you in your career and self-development?
Yeah, so being a mentee really really was a value add for my growth and my career. There were a lot of things that I struggled with during undergrad when I was applying for jobs. So quick short story here, during my senior year, I'm a fifth year graduating senior. So my fifth year, for most of that time, about 9 months of my fifth year, I was getting no's for interviews and no's on job offers. I wasn't getting any job offers, right? My interviewing skills were subpar. My communication skills were also subpar, and I didn't know how to articulate myself properly when it came to carrying out interviews and giving out sales pitches to ultimately land potential roles. So for me, mentoring kind of exposed, being a mentee exposed the holes that were in my game. And it took me to that next level where I needed to be in order to land roles, within the tech industry. And as a mentor, what I like about being a mentor is you actually learn a little bit of, as corny as it sounds, you learn a lot about yourself as well as you continue to mentor other people, because you see a little bit of yourself in your mentees. So it's been a game changer. And, if you don't have a mentor, highly encourage you to go on.
Thank you, Abdi, for sharing that story, because it can be tough. Jack or Chloe, what advice would you give as students consider transitioning from college to career? Chloe, do you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, as you think about the transition from graduating college, starting your career, really would be to leverage your network. There are so many people who have probably tried an experience that you're wanting to try that are so willing to share their background, tips and tricks of what helped them get there. I am the youngest of 3 siblings, and I remember feeling like, I want to do this on my own. I want to get a job by myself. I don't want a referral. I don't want to have to ask for help. And if I could tell you one thing not to do, it would be that. Leverage your network as much as you can, because the people that are in your corner, the people that are on the Zoom call today, are always willing to lend a helping hand. The worst thing that happens is if you reach out to someone is they might say no, or they might never respond, but it might be the person that opens the door and gets you into the next opportunity, or gets you to that next step after graduating. So that would be my biggest step, is really leveraging your network as you transition out of state and into your next play.
Yeah, I'd
Yes.
actually just build on that, because it's not always what you know, it's kind of who you know. That's like an old adage, and sometimes it carries a negative connotation, but at the same time, if you think about it, how many people are graduating with your experience or have your same experience, and how do you differentiate yourself? There are tons of people that can do my job, but through networking, knowing people, proving myself through other jobs, and then having other people vouch for me, introduce me to people, just making those connections is how you differentiate yourself, because they say, hey, yeah, out of all these people, well, I've heard through so-and-so, or I know there's another indicator that you're just not another resume or person on a piece of paper. So really reach out to people, ask questions, and just explore, really.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the networking. Even in my position in the rotation program at Sempra, and then I'm in the 3rd year of the rotation program, which is the final year. So I'm getting to the point where, okay, I need to start looking for a permanent position in the company. So I'm doing a lot of networking within the company as well, to see people in different departments and what they do. And by me earning the Community Impact Award this past year for Sempra, that kind of helps to showcase, I guess, what I've been doing in the company. And it's always good to expand your network, and not only have mentors that you take on yourself, but also keep in touch with them over time and make sure that you follow up, because you never know when they could come in handy, and they are then your advocates as well.
All good advice. And I know we have students that are 1st year, 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year. When should they start this networking? Should they do it when they graduate, or when should we start it? Jack, unmute yourself and say that, because I know sometimes students want to wait until they graduate. When should they do it?
You should have been already doing it. If you aren't doing it, get on it. I mean, networking honestly should happen. It's kind of more of a life skill rather than anything, because you can apply networking. It's basically just friendships, like and that kind of thing, but on a more professional level, right? So you already know how to do this. Just start doing it for yourself. Yeah. So network. I have gotten jobs for myself or other people just because I knew someone from college, and I just reached out to LinkedIn. I was like, hey, this person's excellent. I remember we used to have this project together in school, whatever it is. boom, my friend got a job. So it's sometimes, I know it's hard out there right now, but sometimes it can be that easy.
And can someone give an example of how are you going to network, or how are you going to keep track of all those wonderful people you meet in your class or at an event? Chloe.
It's so true. And I would say, especially in the environment we're in now, I work at LinkedIn. I work fully remote. I've met maybe 10 other people at the company in my first year at the job. And that's because I work from my home in San Diego and I don't have the luxury of going into an office and meeting people. But I make it a point that as soon as I connect with someone over Teams or in an email, as I find that person on LinkedIn, you have the ability to send them a note when you connect. So it could even be a, hey, Jack, was so great meeting you, or so great hearing you speak on the SDSU panel today. Would love to stay in your network for the future. Quick tip and like insider plug about LinkedIn, and Jack can probably speak to this as well, is recruiters on LinkedIn only have the ability to see people that are first, second, and third degree connections to them. So there really is a true power of having a bigger network, not only in your own personal life, but on LinkedIn as well. Networking is everything, and the power of that connection is truly going to be what kind of unlocks the door to you finding that recruiter, or even that recruiter finding you if you have the right experience and background that they're looking for. So I think, I mean, shameless plug, LinkedIn is a great resource, but there's so many ways now that we can stay connected. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, like there is so many connection opportunities at our fingertips. It's just the matter of taking that extra step to really solidify that connection once you make it.
Awesome. Anyone else on the panel want to say anything else regarding networking or career and self-development? What is one thing you wish you knew before you started your career search? Abdi?
I wish I knew how valuable LinkedIn was. Back to what Chloe said. One of my mentors, he told me that your goal with LinkedIn is to build such a strong community of people, so many connections, so many recruiters and hiring managers within your community, to the point where you don't have to go reaching out for jobs anymore. You want to have such a powerful brand online, a social media footprint, where you got recruiters DMing you for roles. And I have gotten DMs for possible roles from recruiters. And, I have to tell them I'm happily employed right now. But, if that changes, I'll be sure to reach out. But I have friends who've gotten ridiculous offers through LinkedIn, through having a strong social media brand. I'm pretty sure Jack can attest to how many individuals he reaches out to in their DMs on LinkedIn. So, yeah, I wish I knew how powerful it was. It would have saved me some time and headache. Because the old school way of applying for jobs was throwing out 1,000 applications, shotgun approach. The new school way of applying for jobs, more modernized way, is have a strong LinkedIn brand, have a strong social media presence, and then, you can reach out to recruiters and hiring managers, or vice versa.
Thank you. And Abdi or Lana, did you, or even Chloe, did you use Handshake while you were here on campus? Because Handshake is a place where we tell students to go for internships and jobs and to reach out to employers. Did either of you use Handshake, or can you say anything about that?
I used Handshake as a student, and it helped me to find jobs as a student. Now, not in my position, would I need to use it, but I think that it was really helpful at that time. And then coming back, helping with recruiting for SEMPRA, we also use that as a way to kind of reach students and then direct them to our site as well.
Okay, yeah, and just so you know, wanted to do a plug for Handshake, because Handshake is our platform here in Career Services that has internships, jobs, where you can schedule an appointment with some of our wonderful career counselors, and also has information of our career fairs. So we have a career fair on October 19th. So those folks in STEM, definitely save the date and come out to our career fair. So let's move on to our next questions about critical thinking. That's one of our career competencies. So Jack, I'm going to start with you. How has critical thinking helped you as a recruiter?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it really goes both ways, as recruiter or someone being recruited, and it kind of stems from what we were just talking about, is how do you differentiate yourself, and how do you critically think about getting yourself exposed, getting yourself in front of the right people, making yourself well known, and really it's a lot of it's around creating like a narrative. And my mentees, if they're here, know exactly what we're talking about, and especially important when you're coming out of school and you don't really have a lot of real world experience to show on your resume. And I know the feeling, you come out and you're like, I have just done all this stuff for the last 5 years for me. And, you know, I feel like I know so much and I'm so valuable, but no one's kind of giving me a look. Like, how do I figure out how to get through the masses? And especially, and I graduated in the last major recession with the housing crisis. So I know what it feels like to come out and not get any looks. I was a biology major, thought I was going to go into the lab, applied, nothing. So I eventually went into like environmental consulting. But now being in recruiting, you kind of look back and you're like, oh, I wish I would have taken some extra steps. And there's just some extra things you can do as far as thinking, okay, if I'm, and this is just insight from the recruiting perspective, if I'm a candidate and I'm looking, or a recruiter, I'm looking at 500 candidates, 600 candidates, like that's completely reasonable for me to look at that many people in a given week. How many resumes am I going through? How blind do I go to what I'm looking through? And how quickly do I need to do that? You hear, I mean, I'm sure people have heard reading articles, TikToks, Instagram, whatever, you're following people are like, oh, I'll look at a resume for 6 to 7 seconds. I could look at everybody's resume in this room in the next 3 minutes and make an assessment on whether you know, if I was working on a job, whether I could hire you or not. So it's like, how do you make your resume more simplistic? It's easily readable. How do you take the right steps of going on LinkedIn or some other professional network, engineering, maybe GitHub, something like that, sending messages to people? I'll go and advise people, go look up rec IDs, which are the job descriptions online. And you can usually find that on their LinkedIn page. And then right below, it's like, here's the recruiter. And you just hit them up and you're like, look, I'm a candidate. Here's my resume. Here's the job. You make my job easy for that. I'm like, that's an easy win in my world. I'm like, oh, they've packaged everything up for me and I just send it off to my team. And you've just kind of skipped the line basically, because you've gotten everything and kind of done that work and differentiated yourself through a little bit of critical thinking. There's a number of tricks. And that's another thing I suggest, is just jump online, go down a rabbit hole around how to do these things. Obviously, I'm here to help answer questions as well, but there's a lot of ways that you can get in front of people in a polite way, not annoying, because sometimes people get really overly ambitious. I've even had people show up to our office knocking on the window trying to like get an interview. So it gets ridiculous. It's the wrong way to do it. Do it the right way. So even if it's not a right fit now, later on, I still remember you and I go, okay, I remember they were really polite, formal. It was just not the right time or right fit at that moment. So you got to think outside of the box of, oh, I'm just going to keep applying. I've done that. You all of a sudden you have a list of hundreds of places you applied and you feel like, oh, I've just gotten rejected from everywhere. Everybody feels like that. So it's a matter of just taking small steps and trying to change little things and seeing what works and then building on that and going from there.
Thank you, Jack. Good points. Chloe, anything to add?
I love that. I think really differentiating yourself is key. The only other thing I would add around critical thinking is I think what's helped me get to where I am today is thinking about the big picture first and then figuring out what steps I need to get there. I think figuring out for the big picture for myself, but also the person that I'm interviewing with, or maybe the person I'm looking to go work for. I want to figure out how I can be the best member of their team, how I can be the best person to support them in achieving their goals. So I think really thinking critically about how not only what you bring to the table, but how you can fit into the specific team that you're trying to join or fill a specific need that hiring manager has to help them accomplish their goals, I think really helps set you apart as well and prove that you have the business acumen to really think about the bigger picture. So not like, what can I do for you now, but what are we going to do together and accomplish together in the future?
I like that. What are we going to do together? Abdi or Alana, do you have anything to add regarding critical thinking? Or what advice you would give yourself now that you've been out a couple of years?
I'd say that as far as critical thinking, thinking about, okay, how are you going to show a potential employer that you can critically think, right? In an interview. And that's kind of challenging to think about, but I would say something that I've done, and I think that it's super helpful in interviews, because in this rotation program that I'm in, each year we have to interview and have a bunch of interviews and go through that and go through this rotation process. So, and I'm sure that you've heard of it before, but it's the STAR method. So when you're in an interview, oftentimes they ask you behavioral questions. So that's like, tell me about a time when you had a challenging situation with your coworker and how did you handle that, or something like that. So you'd have to then draw upon past experiences that you've had that would relate to that. So I would say when you have those examples of situation, task, action, result, or STAR, find ways to incorporate how you've thought critically in the past in those stories, in those situations that you're going to showcase. And I would have it like on an Excel sheet and say, okay, this is a situation that I was in this, I displayed leadership skills in this situation, or I was working on a project with some other students and it was a group setting. And so this kind of shows my teamwork and how I would behave in that situation. So you'd have examples for leadership, teamwork, organization, working under pressure. So different kind of general categories. And then you would have your situation, task, action, results that you would walk through. And as you say that, kind of incorporate how you think critically. So they understand, how your brain works and how you can be an asset to their company.
Thank you, Elena, for walking through that. I love the spreadsheet idea too. So you're prepared and you have a few examples to give. Abdi?
Yeah, I think Alana hit it on the nail. Critical thinking is very important. And whatever role you're applying for, ask yourself, what is the value add for the business? So if I'm trying to become a salesperson, how does that serve the business? If I'm trying to get into cybersecurity, how does that serve the business? If I want to become a software developer, how does technology serve the business? If you can answer these questions and articulate that in an interview, it's game over. You got it. You got it. So yeah, critical thinking. That's good.
Thank you all. Great point. So let's move on to our next one, communication. So Chloe, how has good communication helped you in your career?
Yeah, I mean, communication really is the cornerstone, I think, of all aspects of your career. I would say most notable for me, in my former job, so before I got to LinkedIn, I had a manager who gave me more feedback than I had ever received in a previous role. And I was a little bit taken back because I had previously just gotten a lot of "you're doing great" or, a couple things to work on. But after calls, after meetings, would send me pages and pages of feedback of things that I could improve on. When I first started getting the feedback, I was a little bit scared. I had never received, any of that feedback in the past, but ultimately really understood, like, these are all areas that I'm working on, and her way of communicating to me, things that I can improve on. What that helped and led to was really formulating a better relationship with her, where I felt comfortable, communicating ways that I was preparing for calls, questions that I had after the fact, and ultimately helped me get my next promotion, because she was someone who then became an advocate for me, someone I trusted to give me the honest feedback that I need, but also vouch for me in rooms where, my name might be coming up for the next career move or next conversation. So I think communication really goes twofold. I think don't be scared to ask for feedback and communicate about negative things or things that you might have an area to improve on as well. I think oftentimes we think, we have to maybe be the loudest person in the room or the smartest person in the room. But I would say what's really helped me from a communication standpoint is figuring out how I can communicate better, but also finding different ways to communicate about the things that I'm working on with different people. The only other thing I would add is, especially right now, many of you might be embracing like a new remote role coming right out of school, and that makes communication really tough. Tone of voice gets taken out. You can misinterpret a lot of things that come via email or text or Teams messages because you don't know the tone that they're trying to share it in. You can't see their body language unless you're on a Zoom call where they're maybe standing back 10 feet from their computer. So I think communication is going to be more important than ever in these next couple of years, because a lot of it is going to be written communication. So figuring out how can you make yourself stand out from a written communication standpoint, but also then how can you get in front of somebody in a Zoom conversation, or maybe even finding the ability to go have a coffee chat with somebody, just so you don't miss that interpersonal piece that I think we've all been missing for the last few years.
Thank you, Chloe. Excellent points. Abdi, can you recommend how you might or how you've improved your communication skills over time?
Yeah, for me, improving my communication skills, it was going to a lot of networking events and just practicing on people, to be honest. Just practicing, meeting new people, going to events, let's say, even if it's not, a tech event, just going to a random event on campus where I'm just networking, introducing myself, who I am, and reading books. Reading books help a lot. Reading books help. What also helps is watching great speakers speak. John Maxwell is a great one. Jocko Willink is a great one. Not sure if you're familiar with him. Navy SEAL, very stern, great guy. But watching great speakers speak and attending, TEDx talks, or attending seminars or career fairs or any networking events, that's how you improve your communication over time.
It's practice, right? Just got to practice.
Yep, like
Now,
anything in life.
Right. Now, one of the questions that did come through registrations was, what happens if you're an introvert? Any tips for the introverts out there? Jack, you're smiling. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I think I work with a lot of introverts, and I am not an introvert. I mean, I can be, but recruiters, we're talkers, we're in your face. We'd rather communicate or over communicate. So I think it's really just always, one thing that's at the core of it is always assume positive intent. I don't know where I picked that up. Someone else told that to me. I can't take credit for it, but it was after some kind of miscommunication through a Slack channel, or typing something out and got confusing, and then blame started going around, and obviously communication disintegrates, right? But the learning lesson was there is always assume positive intent, because it's going to be very few and far between that there's actually some negative connotation, or someone's actually pissed or, frustrated with the situation. So if you start with that and always just maintain positive communication and over communicate, it's obviously best to over communicate something rather than to assume. Those are the two things. Assume everybody's trying to work for the right thing and everybody's being positive about it. And just don't assume they know what you're talking about, and don't be afraid that to over communicate something. I've never had someone, and I bug people all day, every day. I wait outside managers' offices and stuff like that when they come out. I'm like, I need to talk to you. So they hate talking to me. And I've never had one of them be mad about it or frustrated about it, or like say that that's the wrong thing to do, or you shouldn't be talking so much. Over communication tends to be the best way to go.
Alana, any tips? Because I know that, if you're remote or hybrid, that can be challenging. So any tips on communication, since I know that you have been remote or hybrid? So how do you go above and beyond to communicate or to keep those lines of communication open?
Yeah, definitely. A few things. As far as having those more intimate conversations where you want to have a one-on-one with maybe your manager or someone on your team, or maybe it's for networking purposes, kind of what Chloe was saying, you want to set time aside for that. So you have to be more intentional about that. And then, also with written communication, with your emails, just making sure that, you read over it before you send it and see how it might come across. But then, as Jack said, don't take it personally, because oftentimes we overthink it. You're reading, you don't know the tone behind it, and you just have to assume that it's a positive thing. And I mean, I have an example when working, I pretty much a situation where like one of my teammates sort of threw me under the bus, and I was like, what is going on? Like, do they not like me? What happened? But if I were to assume that, okay, this person is just not very nice and I don't like them, then I said, hey, listen, this is a situation that happened, how can we communicate? How can we work this out? What is it that I can do? Or what is it that you meant by this? And by me talking to that coworker about that, it really just brought out in the open what the real intention was. And it wasn't malicious at all. It was just, a misunderstanding. So it was good that I had that conversation, because had I not, we would have then had this kind of weird working relationship from that point forward. And now I'm still friends with her to this day. I don't even work in that department anymore, but I still catch up with her. So it kind of goes to show you, like, hey, when you communicate, over communicate even, it's way better than assuming.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Sharing your stories too, because I know it's, there's always those challenges. So I appreciate you all sharing those stories, that it's not always easy, but when you go above and beyond, then it helps create good relationships. So let's move on to our next topic on professionalism. So Abdi, how do you demonstrate professionalism at work? I know oftentimes we tell students you have to be professional, but we don't always define it. So what does that look like?
For me, being professional is, just not being a mean person, being respectful. A lot of it's common sense, and, dressing appropriately, dressing in appropriation to the workplace. For me, I don't wear suit and ties every day. I wear it because you guys are all special to me. Okay. But generally speaking, in my workplace, we wear like business casual, polos, that sort of thing. But some places, they wear, shorts and jeans. It really depends on the company. But being a professional does include being respectful, being cognizant of other people's cultural backgrounds and differences. It also means, being patient with others, and ultimately, being honest and making sure that if you do commit to something, making sure you do your best to commit to those things. It's unprofessional when you say, hey, I'm going to get this done by Friday, and it's Saturday and you haven't even touched the assignment, right? Or touched the task. You have to remember that when you're working with people, right? And you have to ask yourself, if I'm working with people, how do I make sure that I make everybody around me better as I continue to become better? Because it's a team sport, like any sport, it's a team sport. If the team wins, you win. If you drop 40 points in a game, but you guys still lost, so I guess the 40 points didn't matter now, did it?
Thank you, Abdi. I love it. And I see a couple heads shaking. So Chloe.
Yeah, I think just to layer onto that, I would say, in addition to like the people aspect, I think in this remote world, especially, the little things that you can do of showing up to meetings on time, but maybe a minute early. I think the power of like even being 1 or 2 minutes late to a Zoom, you have to relate it to being in an office. If you're walking into someone's door, like I think being punctual and being on time is a really good way to show professionalism. Meeting your deadlines when you say you're going to do something, completing it on time or even early. I think in this remote workplace, a lot of times people aren't going to see the work that you're doing directly. They're not hearing you on phone calls. They're not watching you in your work ethic all day, every day. So the little things that you can show to make an impact, sending emails timely, sending emails that are professional and use correct grammar, showing up to meetings on time, keeping your camera on, being an active participant in meetings, all of those little things, like when you get your time and space in the room, showing that you are the, personable and professional employee that they hired and should invest their time in and invest in your career as well.
Thank you, Chloe. Jack?
Yeah, I mean, there's all great examples already. I think the core of it for me goes back to Abdi said about just being respectful, because especially in this day and age when working environment culture in the workplace and out is becoming more and more inclusive in the best way possible, you don't know what a professional person looks like to any other given person for their environment or their upbringing, whatever it is. But the one core element you can't go wrong with is if you're being respectful, and it goes back to all the examples they just gave, right? People's time, being punctual. I mean, if you do mess up, you acknowledge it. You say, oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm late. It's eating into your day. And then that goes such a long way, because it shows, hey, I see you as a person. I respect that you have your own complete life and responsibilities going on, but what I was doing has an effect on that, and vice versa, right? And they have to do it both ways. But when your life interacts with anybody at any point, just be respectful of people's time, resources, energy, And then, I mean, you can be pretty casual in how you approach people and talk about things. There's not like, a lot of time people think there's this like professional demeanor and like vernacular and stuff. And it's like, no, you can just have a regular casual conversation as long as you're not asking ridiculous questions or saying ridiculous things. So yeah, just be respectful in all aspects.
Thank you, Jack. And Elena, what advice would you give to students to develop these professional skills?
I would just say practice and learn from mistakes, because you're all going to make mistakes, right? And when you see the, kind of like Chloe was saying, and I've also received different feedback that some positive, right? And then the constructive, I was like, oh, I've received something like that too. I was like, okay, usually people say I'm doing well. This is weird. But it's really helpful to get that constructive feedback, right? Because that helps you to develop as a professional. So I would just say, be able to learn from your mistakes and continue to grow, right? Because nobody's perfect and we're all going to make those mistakes. But as long as you can learn from them, that's the best thing.
Terrific. Wow. All such great advice on career and self-development, critical thinking, communication, and professionalism. So now I want to open it up to our audience. Thank you, audience, for being patient. And I know I got a lot of great questions when you registered, but are there any questions that you have for our panelists right now? Feel free to drop them in the chat. And if they're for a specific person, please add their name as well. Here's your chance. You got some great people that work at Sempra, LinkedIn, Tesla, and Lockheed. So one of our mentors said a shout out to to Beyond the PhD for elevator speech, and they put it in the chat. So thank you so much for sharing that.
That
Tyler.
is huge. The elevator speech, I will reiterate, that's actually something you use in sales or recruiting on our side all the time. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier, is like creating your narrative and being able to spit out your narrative in 3 to 5 minutes. You need to be able, literally, that's where the name comes from. You get in an elevator, before it gets to the top floor, can you tell someone everything you want them to know about you? Like, just keep that in mind.
Great point. And Tyler says, any advice for changing or choosing a career? Is there ever a wrong decision or choice? Who wants to take that one?
I can start. Full transparency, LinkedIn is the fourth company I've worked for since I graduated from SDSU. I started in retail management, learned that I really loved people, but I didn't like retail. So I transitioned out of retail management into a more customer success facing role, where I was actually able to use retail data to communicate and consult with customers. Turns out I just didn't love retail data, but I did love the customer piece and being able to use data to tell a story. So that kind of really took me on my path. So I would say advice for a career, like choosing a career, changing a career, figure out what it is that you want to do, what drives you, what you're good at. Also, I would suggest making a list of things that you don't like to do. I've been in quota carrying roles, and I know that I don't like having a quota attached to my performance. So I've taken on opportunities and taken on roles where my success is not measured by revenue that I bring in or number of sales that I complete. So I really think it's a matter of understanding what it is that you want to do and what it means by changing a career, or what experience you're going to gain by changing that career. I don't think there'd ever be a wrong decision or choice. I would say my only advice there would be to just make sure you are prepared and understand what it is you want from your next career, and that it's never downplaying or bashing like a former career, former manager, that you're focused on like what opportunities you're looking for and where you're wanting to go in your own personal career journey.
Thank you, Chloe. Great advice. And I see one here where someone's asking, where is a good place to start networking for those who are against using social media? Good question.
Live events. If you don't like social media, I mean, really networking is social. So there is that element, you're not going to be able to get away from it. But if you don't want to use social media and you want to network, where are the meeting places, the town centers, the town squares, whatever you want to call them? Where do people in the area of interest meet and talk about what you're doing, right? There's a bunch of other different stuff online that's not really social based, right? Like for engineers, you might have like GitHub or something like that. I mean, Reddit's getting way too social at that point, but the idea is if you go to conferences, career fairs, kind of any place where you're gonna have a meeting of the minds. I'm trying to think of different areas we go to, any presentations, talks, just anything that you're interested in, you're going to anyway, potentially, can always be a networking opportunity. So just keep that in mind. It takes a little bit more legwork. That's, you know, the true advantage of social media is it's quick, it's fast, readily available. There's a lot of options. So that's why it's the easiest, quickest way to do it. But you just have to go back to a little bit more of that kind of in person. Or you just have to, if you're not using social media, but still want to be in the tech world, a little more legwork in the sense of just find those people through things you're reading. Who are the authors? Who are they talking about? Who reads them? Who are they citing? It's just falling down rabbit holes, finding the name, and then just sending them an email and just saying, hey, I read your paper. It was amazing. Just wanted to say, this is great work. Like, is there anything else of yours I should read? Flattering, trust me, I've never met someone that's wrote a paper in their life that will not give it to someone when they ask to read it. So just ideas there. Ask people, compliment people. It's worth the shot. It's like fishing. You're not going to catch any fish unless you put any lines in the water. The more lines you put in, more different places you try, only increases the chances that you're going to get something. So it only takes one person to say yes.
Thank you, Jack. Great response. Here's another one. Veronica's asking, what are the main skills employers look for in engineers? Can you answer that one? I know it's a little bit more specific to engineering. Abdi, you want to take a shot?
Yeah, I can answer that one. First off, really depends on the engineer, but across engineering disciplines and most disciplines in general, for engineering, you know, you do want to have, you know, technical capability, yes, but your soft skills need to be sound as well. Oftentimes, the challenge with those of us who are STEM majors is we assume that our technical pedigree will get us to where we need to get to, but that's not enough. You need to be in handshake. You need to be networking. You need to understand how your soft skills play a role in your career. You know, your technical skills get you to the table. However, what keeps you at the table is your soft skills, right? Yeah, for engineers, you know, being able to be resourceful, that's very important. You know, do you know how to Google? Do you know how to research a topic? Do you know how to get the information that you're looking for? Do you know how to sift through the bad information, the information that's not useful for your goal? Being resourceful is a very good skill. There's no shame in asking for help. I want to emphasize that. I ask for help all the time. However, when I ask for help, I say, hey, I'm solving this issue. Here's what I did. And here's what I looked up, and this is what I found. What do you think? I haven't found a conclusive answer yet. So hope that answers your question, Veronica.
Thank you, Abdi. And I have another one. There's a lot of good questions coming in the chat. How soon should I apply for a job? I think that's a great question. Who wants to take that one?
Like as far as like when you're about to graduate, or it really depends, and it really comes down to your timeline. And so what you want to do is establish when you want to work. Most people are like, right now we graduate, let's go, let's get right into the job force. Some people want to take a little break. Some people can start a little bit early. Maybe you have a light course load in your last semester and you're like, hey, I can actually fit a part-time 30-hour-a-week job in here. I'm going to start applying. Those are the questions you need to ask yourself. Come up with your timeline and what you're willing to do or what you want to do. You'll need to be a little bit of flexibility in there, but just go into all conversations and applications with that in mind. Just know that most application processes at their quickest are 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, sometimes expedited a week, but that's like, there's got to be something crazy happening. But processes, especially for junior candidates, can take 1, 2, maybe even 3 months. So you can start applying months ahead of time of when you think your start date would be. But what you want to do in going to all these conversations, as you get on the phone, especially with recruiters or HR, whoever's handling more of the logistics side, is be open and honest. Let them know that timeline, because the worst thing you can do is have something change in the end where you're like, oh yeah, I can start on this date. And then you go through school and you're like, oh, well, I need a break. I just went through 4 years of college and I want to take a trip. But they're waiting for you, right? So if that's what you need to do, trust me, some people need to do that. But it's just like, you need to understand what your timeline and when you can start, work a little bit back from there, and just know that it takes a little runway to get up. Don't start applying for jobs a year before you're ready, because everybody's gonna be like, well, I'm not going to give you an offer and then have you sit on that for a year. But usually 3 to 6 month period is an okay period to start interviewing, start conversations, or even in some cases for our interns, we'll interview them, give them an offer with an expected start date that can be up to 6 months later, right? So it's really up to you. I mean, when in doubt, apply and ask them what their particulars are around it, and then just be prepared with what you're willing to do.
Thank you, Jack. Some more good questions in the chat. Elena, I think this is a good one for you since I know you. How much does company culture affect your choice to work at a job?
For me, that's huge. I think it's huge for most people. You definitely want to work in a company that has a culture that aligns with yours, in the sense of, how people interact, just kind of what it's like there. But I would say that although a company might have a specific culture, there are so many subcultures within the company as well, depending on how big it is. Like at Sempra, for example, there are so many different departments, and it just depends on the team that you're on too. So I would say that, when you go to work, you want to be around people that you like, or that you can at least get along with. So that's really important. And I think it's more important sometimes than the actual work that you're doing, just because so much of our work, as Abdi was saying, is we're working with people. We're on a team. So it's something to definitely consider as you're looking for a position and looking for the right team, because when you go into interviews, you're being interviewed, but you're also interviewing them. So you want to try to get as much as you can out of that interaction and make sure that it's a good fit before you jump in.
Thank you, Elena. Chloe, what advice do you have when you've gone to an interview and then you realize you have so much more to say about your qualifications after the interview?
I love that question. I think after every interview, it's the best practice for me, I think, to always follow up in an interview, whether that's a thank you. And if you have more to add, I don't think it hurts to include a few of those points in a follow-up email. I would say you want to be mindful of how much you put in an email, because I think we've all been in a situation where we've gotten an email that's too long and it's, the acronym of too long didn't read. You want to really give the end user like the quick message or the quick point that you're trying to get across. So I think a thank you email, a thank you LinkedIn message goes a long way with a recruiter, with a hiring manager. Jack, I'm sure you can attest to this. If there's a few things of, I loved our conversation, recap what you learned from them, but also I know that I can bring X, Y, and Z to your organization. One thing I didn't share during the interview was X. I would say short and sweet is probably going to be advantageous in that type of environment, just because that person is likely sifting through a lot of email messages. But I don't think it hurts to follow up and include some of those notes in a follow-up email to just make sure that you not only are thanking them for their time, but including any of those additional points that you might have left out.
Thank you, Chloe. Yes, thank you email. A thank you letter, a thank you email goes a long way. And I think, as Jack mentioned earlier, your name probably goes to the top of the stack as opposed to being one of 600 or 700 applications he has to read. So save him some time and add value. Jack, did you have anything to add to that?
Just that, reiterate, the short and sweet is the best. There are some points when it's actually looks a little desperate to send follow-up, not desperate in the sense of the follow-up, but especially, and it's more for specific times when you're doing more of a timed task or a time-dependent task that was meant for in that interview section. An example for me is in software engineering. they'll often do a coding round, whether it be remotely through a tool like CoderPad or LeetCode or something like that. And then I'll get interview feedback, and the interviewer's like, oh, unfortunately, they missed here, here, and here, this and that. And then sure enough, an hour or two later, I get an email with a bunch of code in it from the candidate saying, this is what I messed up on. I know I figured it out after the fact. And I'm like, oh, this is so great. I know I've done that in interviews right when, computer closes, you're like, oh my God, I know exactly what I wanted to do or wanted to say. It happens. So that would be wary of that. But if there's nice touches that can add to that short, sweet note, as far as like, I remember in this interview we talked, or I remember during your section, you mentioned this article. I went ahead and read that. It was amazing, period. And that's it. You don't need to be like, and let me give you analysis on the whole thing to prove that I'm smart and I deserve this role. No, just that extra little, it's just an extra little touch of like, hey, I did my due diligence. I took an extra step. I didn't just go, oh yeah, I'll read that article. That's the thing that will differentiate you, but don't feel the need to like keep defending yourself in the follow-up emails. Short, sweet, or even the little LinkedIn connection to all your interviewers. And the little box pops up and it says, do you want to add a message? You're just like, hey, thanks for your time for interviewing, connect. And then guess what? Your second connections with all their connections who are all professionals in the same industry.
Thank you, Jack. Yes, some good LinkedIn tips. Abdi, I have a MIS student that says, what are some skills that you have learned that prepared you to enter the field of cybersecurity?
Great question. Some of the skills that I learned during undergrad were networking fundamentals. That networking course really helped establish some strong technical fundamentals in my current role. Another course that the MIS program offered was cybersecurity, introduction to cybersecurity. And that's a great elective course to pursue if you're an MIS major. And as an MIS student, I believe one of my favorite professors was Professor Judge. I believe he retired, but one thing he always emphasized when he was teaching us MIS courses was always, hey, whatever you're doing, whatever your role, think about the business. If you're a techie, how does this add value to the business? If we're using technology, why are we using technology? We're not using it just to look cool and tell everybody, hey, we're having very great digital transformation, we're embracing change and all these, amazing buzzwords. But we're using technology to solve business problems. So I think understanding that mentality, really helped my cybersecurity career grow. Great question.
Thank you, Abdi. And then I also see a great suggestion in the chat from Manny Powers. He suggested joining Toastmasters. I completely agree. And I see a couple of you shaking your head. Manny, do you want to just quickly share what Toastmasters is and maybe what it's done for you?
Sure. Toastmasters is a public club, and they have them all over, so you can join and visit different ones, but they teach you how to speak in front of the public. So it's impromptu speaking, it's organized speaking, and then it also provides a lot of evaluation on your speeches. So it helps you just get up there and start talking and feel comfortable. And it's very good for anybody that has trouble getting in front of people and speaking.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. And even if you're comfortable, it never hurts to practice and gets polished. Those people that are great speakers, they're not great because they didn't practice. They have practiced a ton. So thank you so much, Manny, for sharing that tip. And then I saw one in the chat about LinkedIn. It said, I get so many emails from LinkedIn daily, it's overwhelming. Honestly, I don't answer because I don't know where I want to end up. Where do I start? Any tips, Chloe?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's totally fair. Some of those messages can feel overwhelming. I would suggest starting with a list of what it is you like to do and what it is you don't like to do. And that can be as simple as I like talking to people. I don't like punching numbers, or I don't like Excel spreadsheets. It can be very black and white, and it can be what you like to do in a classroom setting, in a personal setting. But once you start to understand things and tasks and skills that you're good at, things that you know that you're not great at, From there, you can start to then make that connection to what kind of industries, what kind of careers, what kind of companies have roles that are in line with the type of activities and type of day-to-day tasks that you like to do. I think that can be a really great exercise to just narrow down what are the types of companies or types of people that I want to surround myself with. I would suggest, as you start to get some of these LinkedIn messages, one suggestion would be to check your LinkedIn settings, because if you are getting a ton of emails, you might have some sort of setting enabled that maybe your flag is right now open to work, and that's like putting you in front of every single recruiter. So they're seeing your name pop up and they're sending you a message. Let's say if you're not quite at that point yet, check those settings, but also take the time to research the person that reached out to you. Every LinkedIn profile has the company they work for. You can read a quick blurb about what that company does. You can also see if there's anyone in your network who currently works for that company. So that can be a really good way to say, okay, company X, I know that Jack works there. I had a class with Jack last semester. I'm going to reach out to him and ask him what he likes about the company, or if he would suggest that I talk to that recruiter. So it's going to take doing your research. I would say do your best to go through some of those messages. I would always suggest replying when you can, even if it's a, hey there, I'm not sure that I'm quite ready for my next opportunity, but I'd love to connect and keep you in my network for future. Just that simple response. I know Jack can attest to this, is oftentimes it just sucks not getting a response to your message, because you send message after message after message, and oftentimes just, hey, no, I'm not interested. That recruiter can check you off that list. You won't get a message again. But if you don't respond to them, you'll be in their follow-up cadence. You might get another message, because ultimately they're trying to fill that role. You are a perfect candidate. So really figuring out kind of step one, what it is that you want to do, but also taking the time to do the research on that person and sending them that thank you, but no thank you is also okay too, if it's not a good fit.
Thank you, Chloe. Some response is better than no response, right?
And it's all automated too. LinkedIn does a great job where you just like, there's little bubbles and it's like, no, not interested this time. You can click, go to the next message, click, you can just file through those. And it's better to let someone know there's like a human monitoring that on the other side. Because like Chloe said, either you're going to get taken off a list because you don't want it, or it's like, hey, at least we know we'll reach out to them in 6 months, a year from now again, if it just wasn't the right time. And the only thing I'd add on to that, I think someone else mentioned just kind of knowing what you want and the companies you're interested in. And then just waiting and see if those messages come through. If not, you have to get active. But other than that, if you see a message come through and it's a company you don't know, they look interesting, get on the phone. It's literally what people are paid to do. It's what I'm paid to do all day. Is half my job, and half my calls don't actually end up going anywhere. It's more of PR and sales, getting our products out there, our teams out there, just the information out there in general. So it's a great time for you to learn more about the company, make that connection. Because even if you get off the phone, you say, hey, oh, that sounds great, but I just really can't leave my company at this time, this and that. Trust me, we've heard all the excuses. It's not personal. No recruiter goes home and cries at night because someone said no thank you, right? So don't worry about, people tend to mix that kind of personal with the professional. They want to be so respectful. It's like, oh, don't waste your time. You're not wasting my time. I'm getting paid. I'm going to sit here and do this anyway in the same office. You can be one of those people I talk to or not. So if don't waste your time talking to every recruiter in the street, because you'll quickly add those up. But when in doubt, get on the phone. And at the end of the call, if it's not something you're interested in, say thanks, no thanks. It's the worst that can happen.
Thank you, Jack. We appreciate that. That's good information to have. And my last question, I think, is a great question. Any suggestions on how students can take care of their mental health while they're in the job or internship search? I know, Abdi, you'd mentioned, or someone mentioned, going through 100 applications, and I hear that from students and alumni. So how do we take care of our mental health? Because that can be exhausting and discouraging. Who wants to take that one? Or a couple people can take that one. Abdi, were you the one that mentioned you sent out 100 applications? And I know you're not alone, so can you share?
Oh yeah, I was desperate, sending out plenty of applications, in a shotgun approach, and just sending as much as I can, thinking that it would get me the outcome I was looking for. But yeah, it's exhausting. I'll be the first to admit, for a long time during my senior year, I was telling myself, wow, you're a failure. All your friends are getting jobs. Look at you, you bum, saying all type of other things. But I want to reiterate to all the students on here, you are not a failure if you do not get a job before you graduate. Get that out of your head. It is the most wrong and unfair thing you could say to yourself. Is it okay to want to get a job before you graduate? Of course, that's great. That's an ambitious and great goal to have. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is wrong to tell yourself, hey, I'm a failure if I don't get a job before I graduate. That's when the mental health starts to go like this. You see my hand? It's just going downhill, and it's really important that as you apply for these jobs, you have to remember it takes time. Earlier, I did mention it took me about 8 months, 8 months of no's, so it's not fun, but it builds character. These no's do build character. It's corny when people say don't give up, but I'm here now because I didn't give up. The panelists here are here today because they didn't give up. Diane's here because she never gave up. The mentors here are here because they never gave up. You students, who are here right now, you all are here because you never gave up. Don't give up.
I love that.
Abdi, well said. And before I know we're getting close to ending. So Lauren, quickly, I know all the panelists have agreed to share their LinkedIn. Can you share all of our panelists' LinkedIn in the chat? And while Lauren is doing that, Chloe, go ahead.
I was just gonna add, don't be afraid to schedule out time to do some of those things that prioritize your mental health. Go for a walk, catch up with a friend, schedule yourself enough time to go through interviews, go through applications, submit applications, but also be intentional about scheduling time for yourself. Because I think in the chaos of being, whether you're in your first year, your fifth year, your fourth year, there is so much going on, but that continues as you get into your career as well. So you're always going to need to prioritize yourself, prioritize that time for your mental health. I take a walk every day, whether I have my dog with me or not, scheduling time to get away from your computer, get away from those applications and do something that really powers you and just for you, not for anybody else, I think is something that I learned the hard way during COVID. You were locked in a room, you couldn't see anyone, couldn't talk to anyone, didn't have any of that interaction. So really making it intentional to prioritize yourself too.
Well said. So we did drop the panelists LinkedIn in the chat, and I just want to encourage you, for all of you who have attended today, if you are open to connecting on LinkedIn, feel free to drop your LinkedIn in the chat, because I know we're not in person, but I know most of the people here would be welcome to do that. I'm on LinkedIn as well, so feel free to connect with me. And then Lauren's also dropped in the chat our AMP website, our podcast. And I just want to share a couple quick last things. So if you're a student here today and you haven't connected with a mentor, you still can do that in 2023. Or if you're a mentor and you haven't joined or want to join us, spring 2023 registration starts on January 2023. And then also, please know that we are available via email, via phone. If you're social, we're available via Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you're still not sure how a mentor can make a difference, check out our AMP podcast. And again, if you're on LinkedIn, feel free to share it in the chat and connect with other people. Career Services is here for you throughout the year. Don't wait until you graduate to apply for a job. Come see a career counselor. Come connect with a mentor. Attend one of our amazing events and hear from mentors or mentees about their experience. Thank you so much, Abdi, Chloe, Jack, Elena, and everyone who attended today. Please feel free to drop in a chat one takeaway. That always helps us know what works. And just thank you for spending last hour with us. And we appreciate you and all of our panelists. So thank you so much.